Trey Turner was the first guy he faced because that's when he threw freaking curveball outside. Wasn't even close. Curveball outside, then he went fastball up. I don't know what he did again. He threw another pitch, might have been fouled off, and then he threw curveball.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the batters he was facing, I forget who he was, but again, it was curveball, fastball. I think it might have been against Turner because he got him 0-2. I forget who it was against, but he got him 0-2, and then he throws fastball high, lays off, and gets him out in front, then gets him out in front.
He did it on 2 batters. Trey Turner, when he went curveball, the catcher wanted probably another curveball, and he shook him to fastball
high, right.
And then 1 or 2 batters later, he did the same thing, except he didn't shake the catcher. The catcher just read him from the previous batter, so we went curveball, fastball up, and then back to curveball.
Well, how about and again, late in the game with that strategy or that mindset, again, if they're not hitting, they keep throwing it until they prove you wrong. He's ahead with the curveball, with the slider, and he's getting these guys out in front. But another thing that I find interesting is throughout that game, how many total stolen bases did the Phillies have? How many total stolen bases did the Diamondbacks have? Phillies had none that game, Diamondbacks had 4. And ironically enough, on those 4-for-4 attempts, 3 or 4 which scored runs.
Yeah.
So out of those 4-for-4 steals, 3 out of those 4 steals produced a run.
Yeah, bottom line, Arizona played baseball, and Philadelphia is playing long ball. I mean, it's so, I've been saying for a while, it's so easy to see. Even last year, Philadelphia in the playoffs, Schwarber was just going yard every time. He's just trying to hit the ball as far as he can. So was Harper, and they were pretty successful at it. And the rest of they're hoping the rest of the guys kind of get on, and they put, get guys on base so these guys go yard. And, there's a couple other guys in the lineup that go, and you could see they take that swing. But for the most part, Philly was playing freaking long ball, and that's why I said I didn't think that was going to happen with Arizona beat them. So Philadelphia going and playing Texas, my thoughts were if Texas can keep Schwarber and Harper in the park, they got a good chance of winning it. But Arizona, like you said, I mean, they were playing baseball. They were stealing. They were running the base. They were playing not necessarily small ball, but they were playing the game the way the game always was played. Now it's all.
It's funny too that you said that because again, Philly was kind of known as that, the home run team. But between Schwarber, Castellanos, and Harper, the amount of home runs didn't Schwarber recently just pass Reggie Jackson for the most amount of home runs in the NFL for the Bucs?
14. Right?
Whatever that number was. I mean, again, you have the long ball. If you look at the Diamondbacks, and I forget what it was. It was over the last 2 games. Or it was over the last 3 games. I think they only had 1 home run.
Yeah.
Versus Philly had a combined whatever it was.
Yeah.
So again, there's a great example of, you could buy all the power in the world. You could buy you could buy the best players. Money won't win a World Series.
No.
And now we can really kind of transition that argument back to the Yankees. This year just proved it. Money didn't buy a World Series. So how many World Series rings did the Yankees buy?
And that's true. You got to remember, it comes down to, as a head coach or an organization, you play with what you have, and so you're not going to play long ball with no power. You know what I mean? Philly's got the power. Now listen, why has Philly got the power? Philly's like a popcorn factory. Ball flies out of there. So they're filling those slots on that team with players that can take a big hack and miss the ball and still hit it out. I'm not familiar. I think Arizona is more of a pitcher-friendly park, if I'm not mistaken. And so they line, half your games are at home. I think they line that team up with, and they're young, but they line their team up with guys with, not as much power as Philly, but that are going to play first and third. They're going to steal. They're going to use their speed, and speed kills. I don't care what anybody says. The game of baseball has just changed, period. I mean, it was always play first and third, hit and run, bunt, sack, steal, blah, blah, blah.
There's a strategy behind it.
There's a strategy. There's less strategy now. It's, how far can you hit the ball?
What draws views?
And that's what the Major League Baseball is playing to the fans.
Yep.
Most, the hardcore fans that see the game inside the game are going to appreciate a 2-1 game. But the average fan, and no knock on the average fan, but they want to see offense. Just same thing in football. They want to see offense. They want to see home runs. You know what I mean? The traditionalists, you know, they have no problem seeing a 1-0 game or a 3-2 game and seeing the game inside the game and the strategy being played out. You know, so you know, MLB's got to play to, you know, a money base. You know what I mean? They got to bring fans in the stands, and if fans want to see home runs, and that's why there was talk how many years ago balls juiced. You know, stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, Arizona plays the game the way really you're supposed to play the game, and they utilize what they have. And Philadelphia utilized what they had. But I get a little worried, even though it's at Philadelphia, you start relying on that long ball. You know what I mean? Same thing with basketball. You know, you got a team with a bunch of three-point shooters. All it takes is, you know, 3 of those guys being off one game, and those threes aren't dropping.
Right.
You know, but you know, I mean, you're right. I mean, Philadelphia was stealing. They were playing the game of baseball pretty much the way it used, old school in a sense. And I think Philly was just trying to go long ball. Guys inside the lineup, you know, certain guys were trying to get on for Schwarber and Harper and, you know, Castellanos and, you know, whoever. I don't know. I was surprising to me, but that hitter, we were just talking about it, the Trey Turner at bat with first and second. I mean, he said, if you listen to the pitcher after they interviewed him, I forgot his name, but he said, he goes, Philly, so they watched video. Philly has a tendency to be aggressive with runners on base. Their hitters are aggressive, so that's why it came out with curveball. And you saw Turner just. I mean, it was not a good at bat. He digs in when he gets 2 strikes and shortens up, but.
Well, you even saw Real Muto too. I think it was the 8th inning or the 9th inning when JT was up with 2 strikes. I mean, they did a close-in kind of with the stance, and you can naturally see how much wider he got. He choked up right away. That approach there, again, you don't necessarily see that approach taken as much anymore. It's you know, I don't want to say the same approach. You know, certain guys, the approach that they have 0-0 is the same approach that they have 0-2. Doesn't matter situation of the game. Doesn't matter. They get paid for that. Whereas, again, you got a guy like JT Realmuto where he takes that 2-strike approach. It's no longer that less than 2 strikes. You know, I don't want to say swing out of my shoes, but I could take a healthy hack versus, you know, expand the zone, shorten up, put the ball in play.
Yeah, and listen, that's the way the game, you know, the game should always adjust, right? I mean, you talk about launch angle. That was the big thing, right? Why pitchers were taught to throw at the knees years ago. Live low, right? What hits low? Launch angle. So the hitters make that adjustment to the pitchers living low, and they go launch angle. It was about that time where they were, you know, it was talking if the ball was juiced and everything too. But so balls are flying out of there. So if you saw maybe about 8 years ago, we got the playoffs. You know, Boston's the playoffs, Dodgers, all these teams. If you saw pitchers were getting 2 strikes on, and you'd see the catcher lay down 1, and they put the glove up, and the hitters are swinging at it, and they're not. Launch angle isn't hitting this pitch. It's just not gonna. And it was the same on every batter. Get, you know, waste slider away off the plate, get a swing, fastball in, foul off, waste a couple pitches, 1 and 2, 2 and 2, fastball up. Because this ball up here to hitters looks like a beach ball, right? And so, but launch angle isn't hitting this. So in other words, the pitchers made adjustments, you know what I mean, to launch angle. And so that's how the game is, you know, it's a game of adjustments over periods of time. You know what I mean? So like Real Muto, you know, they were saying, like years ago, 2-strike approach. You get 2 strikes, guys were shortening up. Then they got away from that, and they started saying, you know, 2 strikes, take the same swing on 0-0 as you do on 0-2, because a harder exit velo, it's all metrics now, harder you hit the ball, better chance you got of getting on. When we shorten up, we're not going to get that exit velo, right? So that's that difference of that shortstop getting to that ball in the hole and throwing you out, as opposed to taking a hack and it gets past him because it's 8 miles an hour faster off the bat. But that play, he had to get on, right? I mean, it was 8th inning.
I think it was the 8th. I believe it was 1 out in the 8th.
And there, you know, you're in a popcorn factory. Ball goes out of there. They can hit it out of there. They're down 2. You got to get on.
Yeah.
You got to get on and set the table for the next guy. It doesn't matter if you take a big hack and
I believe at that time it was still a 4-2 game.
It was still 4-2.
It was a 4-2 game. So again, you know, something, to that point, again, you get somebody on, anything could happen, but you can't hit a 2-run home run with nobody on base.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hit a 5-run home run. So, it's doing the little things, which again, who knows? He gets on with that approach. And again, he took the right two-strike approach. But let's say he gets on with that approach, now we, creates more of an opportunity. Nobody knows what happens next. Another walk. Let's say a hit batsman, a base hit.
Wild pitch.
Anything again could happen. So it's just it's incorporating that mindset, or being able to trust that mindset, versus again knowing at the end of the day, I'm a $20 million athlete. Certain guys, it doesn't matter. I'm going to take the same approach. That I'm going to take 0-2. Why? Because I'm getting paid to do that.
Right. And you were talking earlier. I didn't see the whole game. I saw the end of it because I was here at the Blue Sox Academy doing lessons all night long. And you were talking about him not bunting. Now I didn't see that. What happened there?
So I believe it was first and second. It was either first and second, runner on second.
What inning?
No, it was the 6th inning, I believe, 5th or 6th inning. May have even been the 7th, but it was runners on either second or first and second. Trey Turner comes up, and first pitch he sees, turns around, squares, bunts a foul. It's the only attempt he had all at bat. At the time, it was either a 1-run game or a 2-run. It might have been a 1-run game.
It was right in there because that's when they scored. Someone's around the 6th. I know they scored.
It might have been
4th run.
I believe it was still a 1-run game at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think you had any outs. And if you did, you might have had one. But either way, with runners in scoring position and that close of a game, midway through the game, yes, Trey Turner signed a large contract. Yes, Trey Turner makes a lot of money. Why only one bunt attempt, though? Why not get the bunt down? And again, it's 2 strikes. It's in a way a different story. Some guys you'll still see. It's very rare, but very rarely will you see guys with 2 strikes still bunting.
Yeah, pitcher they wouldn't do it too, just because they knew he was going to get hit. But yeah.
But besides the pitcher, it wasn't common to see with 2 strikes. But what I don't understand again is with nobody out, or even and again, I don't even think there was an out. I think there was nobody out. Why not get that bunt down?
Yeah. Well,
you attempted once, and then the ongoing joke now is you get paid all that money. At least he attempted.
Yeah, no.
You can't get away with that. Move the runner.
Right.
It's small ball, and it's little things like this that create differences in games.
Oh yeah.
And it's little things like this when they're not effective and when they're not trusted and done. You get out of it. Diamondbacks got out of that inning, and ironically enough, it was all over SportsCenter. Diamondbacks get out of a big 6th inning jam, or you're not getting out of that. Again, anything could happen with that sack bunt. 3 things need to happen in order for somebody to be out. Ball's put into play, fielder needs to field the ball cleanly, fielder needs to make an accurate throw, first baseman needs to catch the ball cleanly. If any of those 3 things don't happen, that base runner's safe. Sure, you're sacrificing yourself, but by putting that ball in play, again, you have to utilize those 3 things, which again, I'm going to guess him going down, the attempt was down the first base line. I'm going to guess you're going to go get the out at first, right? We're not talking bottom 9 1-run game where that first baseman's charging in, firing at third to try to get the force. Yeah. So again, you got the runner at third base, now closer to scoring position, less than 2 outs, versus nobody out, bunt's not successful, Turner ends up, whatever he ends up doing, I believe he ended up getting out, and then next thing you know, Diamondbacks are out of that jam. Phillies don't score the rest of the game.
And now it was first and second, no, probably.
It was either first and second, nobody out, or runner on second, nobody out. I forget exactly what the situation was, but there was a runner on second.
And it's easy to play, Monday afternoon quarterback, but I didn't watch that play, but is Bryce Harper on deck? Right? Doesn't he hit behind Turner?
If Turner was in the 2-hole, I don't even remember. I just remember Turner scoring a bunt. The announcer's talking about it.
Turner, and then because at the end in the 8th, it was Turner. And I could be wrong. And I thought it was Harper following Turner. And you got to remember, Turner's fast. So runner on second. I mean, and again, you're paying him 20. I don't know why. That's what I'm saying is here. Monday morning quarterback. Why am I bunting? The guy's getting paid all this money. He can swing and he can run. Why do I want to give him up as an out?
Well, would you rather give somebody like Harper, Castellanos, or Schwarber?
Yeah, but now think about it. If it's first and second, or it's second, either way, if he lays the bunt down and moves him to third and Harper comes up, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to pitch to him? They're going to walk him. You know what I mean? They're going to walk Harper. They don't want him swinging because he's very capable of hitting a fly ball to score that run from third. So they're probably going to walk him. So you're always thinking, you know what I mean, ahead,
right.
You know, kind of thing. Like, I mean, Turner can hit, obviously, and he can run. And so whether it was runner on second or even first and second, if say it's first and second, you're not doubling him up.
Right.
You know what I mean? You might get the force at second, but now you're first and third, if that was the case. If it was just a runner on second, and no outs, and I got Trey Turner, Harper, and whoever, I'm letting them swing. You know what I mean? I got 3 outs to get that one run in with those hitters. You know, I don't know. That's how I think about it. But I didn't see the play. But yeah, I mean, you're just getting paid all this money. You know, you can't lay a bunt down. You know what I mean?
And again, something, you know, bunting unfortunately is not as acceptable, for lack of a better term, in baseball today. You don't really, you know, see it often. I almost feel like when you do see it now, it's a sacrifice and a sacrifice. You know, only you'll catch a couple smart teams during tournaments where you might do a suicide squeeze. When's the last time you've seen somebody drag bunt? You know, for a base hit. Forget a base hit. When's the last time you see somebody drag bunt? Period. It's just not. You know, it's not something, unfortunately, that's done. And it's almost something now when it's done. I make a joke about it, but the last time I remember seeing somebody turn around was David Ortiz with the shift, where he ended up getting a double because he pushed it down the third base line.
Yeah, right.
Again, it's that's the joke, but again, it's not done. And when it is done, it's being done by guys that, and without the shift, you know, you can't really kind of pull that off. Cano did it as well one time, almost like a little push bunt down the third. But again, you don't really see that.
No, the game's changed. Like I said, MLB plays to the fans. They want big innings. They want the 3-run homer. You know, they don't want this bunt with runners on first and second stuff. So I don't know when the last time I saw a sacrifice bunt in Major League Baseball.
That wasn't by a pitcher.
It wasn't by a pitcher. You know, I mean, I can't remember.
It's again, you're never going to see on SportsCenter, you're never going to see the situation in the game where the sac bunt was the difference maker. You're going to see the home run being the difference maker.
Yeah, well,
you're going to see the base hit being the difference maker. Yeah. But without that home run, without that sac bunt, that opportunity for the walk-off home run, or that opportunity for the home run, that opportunity for the base hit to win the game never exists, never happens. But again, that's what's being covered, not the sacrifice bunt.
Right. I mean, that's what draws the fans. Right now, why is that happening? Because analytics. Mm-hmm. You see in football now, 4th and 2, analytics say go for it. They don't really tell you. They don't really talk about if you don't make it. Right? Mm-hmm. This is the percentages. 4th and 2. The odds are with you that you're going to get that. You're going to get 2 yards, or what? You know what I mean? So it's all analytics, and I get it. I understand analytics. It's science. That's what's happened in this game over the years. When I got myself back into this game, while I was away, science got involved. I had to reinvent myself as far as a baseball instructor, because now it became hitting mechanics, pitching mechanics, fielding mechanics. Where before, years ago, it was just give me a bat, I know how to hit. Give me a glove, I know how to catch and I know how to throw. So it's all mechanics, and it's just evolved into this analytic game where, in a lot of cases, the stories I hear, don't know if it's true, basically the analytics department is basically giving that head coach the lineup. Now, the head coach has the ability to, make changes if he wants, but, if it goes wrong, it comes out, the responsibility always falls on the head coach anyways, but, they just have accumulated all these analytics, and that's the whole game now. And so bunting, you were talking about giving up an out. No matter who the hitter is, you're giving up an out. And analytics says that doesn't play. You know what I mean? It doesn't play. You got a better chance of swinging away with 3 outs to play with to get that runner in from second base than you do to move him to third and have 2 outs to get that runner from third to home. It's a game. The game has changed. It has definitely changed. And I came from an era where I was small ball. You played the game. You hit and run. You stole. You know what I mean? You sacrificed. You squeeze. You drag bunt. Mm-hmm. mean, and now it's, and you see that with hitters now. I mean, you probably see it too. I mean, hitters, they're getting a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're coming back and they're we talk about that front box. We're going to keep that front box. They're throwing their hands back a little bit more and turning. They want that 3-run home run. I mean, I get it, but it's all about this.
Yeah.
You know, in every sport today, and MLB sees the fans want to see, the long ball. Chicks dig the long ball, baby, right? So let's go. Let's hit some 3-run home runs. And again, the analytics say it. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's a changed game. I think everything. Life's cyclic, so everything always comes back around. Whether it's fashion or whatever, everything kind of comes back around. So who knows? Philly, though, I think they put together a team that fits that ballpark. And they're playing half their games there, and ball goes out of there. And so, with Harper and Schwarber and Castellanos and Real Muto can hit them out of there. They got a number of guys who can hit it out of there, So I think you got to play to your field a little bit, but you definitely have to manage the game to what type of team you are. And Arizona is not a big bopper team, right. And so that's why you saw two different styles last night. Mm-hmm. 4 runs, they didn't hit 1 home run, right? I don't know how many. Philly had 2 runs. I know they had one home run, and then a gap double, I think.
Yep.
Kind of a thing.
Yep.
And so.
And Harper just missed one. There was 2 guys who actually just missed one, both hitting him to the warning track. I know Harper was one. I think that was in the 7th. He just missed it. It was somebody else late in the game. I think it was actually in the 9th. Might have been.
Well, it was Harper again.
Was it Harper again?
Harper in the 8th hit one deep. I think it was to the warning track.
Yeah, there was 2 balls that were hit. I know Harper hit one to the warning track. There was somebody else who hit one to the warning track. And again, I mean, you were talking 10-foot difference in a game.
Yeah.
15-foot difference in a game. But hit the gym.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to hear anybody in this league say.
Yeah.
Hit the weight room. So, it's at the end of the day, it's a long out. Just like a home run foul. It's a long strike. That's all it is.
It's all it is, man. So now it sets up pretty interesting. I mean, I guarantee everybody thought it was going to be Philadelphia, Houston, and that's baseball. Houston's another story. Like I don't know what happened there, but if you think, both those teams, Texas and Arizona, they had to both. I don't know if I'm right or wrong with this, but I think I'm pretty sure both had to go to Houston and Philly and win both games, right?
You talking about on the road? They both had
the last 2 games of the
both won on the road.
Yeah, and both so
which
Texas
that's rare.
Yeah,
that's rare, especially with the fan. I mean, you were looking when the home run was hit yesterday. Right away, they showed the meter for how loud.
Yeah, it was 107.
Oh my God!
Decibels were 107.
Which is that's on a home run. God forbid a grand slam late in the game. God forbid Harper hits that ball out, and now the Phillies are up by 1.
Oh yeah.
So again, it's when you got that fan base, when you got that excitement, that energy, to not be the home team or to be the home team and lose in a situation like that, or in a crowd, in an environment like that, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough. And again, it wasn't necessarily just a fluke. I mean, it was a 7-game series, or at least for the Phillies and Diamondbacks, and I was one to believe that the Phillies were going to go to Arizona and just roll all over them, and Arizona, it's any given Sunday. Doesn't just refer to football.
No.
Or basketball, whatever the case may be. So.
You saw Texas. Texas is a bunch of guys that just kind of stay here. They almost look like they don't care. They just kind of stay right here, and that's what you got to do. I mean, you're going to a park with 107, decibels. It's loud.
And you see every pitcher too. Every single time they're getting their sign, everybody's covering their ear.
So loud.
And you don't really see that during the regular season. I can't recall a time I saw that.
Yeah.
And then if it happened, it was probably select few times, maybe late in the game, certain situations. But to see that to see that in Philly, as much as we did during this division series, I mean, it just proves. It just goes to show how loud it really was, and
that's
to
crazy.
be able to be not only an athlete but to be yet focused. You'd always hear, growing up, I would always hear Jeter goes to Fenway. You got 52 million people booing him. You stink. You suck. Go home. This, that, and the third. Able to block all of that out and still be able to produce and perform is just
yeah.
You know,
those guys are playing. I mean, it's a foe. You got to block everything out. You don't see fans. You don't hear any noise. You're so in your own world, and you have to be, especially at that level and those types of situations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so you got to stay here. I mean, I tell all my kids here at the academy, we can't be up and down. We can't. We have to stay right here. You know, almost flatlined. Carroll last night, I think it was Carroll, when they interviewed him afterwards, or it was one of those guys, and again, young kid, he goes, you know, he was asked, were you nervous? And he goes, no, I was more, you know, like anxious to want to get the game going, you know, but no, he goes, it's baseball. It's just baseball. You know, so they're conning themselves, all right? But you got to have that mental approach to stay here, because, you know, if you really sit down and go, oh my God, I'm going to a park that it's going to be loud, 107.9 decibels, and this is Game 7, and this game gets me in the World Series, gets our team in the World Series, and then you start thinking, I can't screw up. You can't. You got to kind of trick yourself mentally, and it's all about perspective, and so you got to say it's baseball. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. There's more important things in life.
The sun will always come up tomorrow.
The sun's, yeah, man. It's just the way it is.
You want to lose.
Of course.
And that's, in a way, that's the beauty about baseball.
Yeah.
You know, whether you want to lose again, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. There's always going to be a new day. There's always going to be a new game.
And then you throw in, it's a little bit easy to have that attitude too, knowing that even if you do lose, you still made $20 million.
That's just the cherry on top.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think they're more concerned about the bonuses that were missed out on.
Right. It's tough, but I don't know. We saw two different teams last night, styles. It's going to be interesting. Texas, Arizona. I think it'll be an interesting series.
Well, not only is it going to be interesting, again, you got one team that's never been to the World Series before in the last, you know, and another team that hasn't been there in the last 22 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, as a baseball fan, it's great to see somebody other than the Astros and the Dodgers over the last 6-7 years now. Yeah. It's nice to see something. It's refreshing to see something new.
Yes.
What I'm looking to see is, in these situations that we saw in this division series, how many stolen bases there are during World Series play, how many sacrifice bunts, how many bunts in general are in World Series play. Again, it's these little things that ultimately, you know, dictate the outcome of a game. And I don't foresee many blowouts. I think each game is going to be a close game. You have competitive pitching, you have competitive defense, and you got a solid 13 guys really on both sides, including your starters and your guys you're relying on off the bench, that are going to get the job done, whether it's that pinch hitting situation, whether it's that starting situation, whether it's the pinch run, whatever the case may be. You have those, you know, core guys on both sides that you're going to be able to rely on. It's just going to be interesting to see in what situations bunts are utilized, stolen bases are utilized.
Yes.
And the average fan, again, watching the game, has an idea of who those players are going to be. It's going to be fun now to see if it's implemented again in the World Series.
Yeah, you're going to see like more old school baseball. I think. I mean, you talk about Houston's another park like Philly. I mean, there was a couple plays that Tucker had. He made one catch, but there was two. One at the end, one off his glove. I think in Game 7, and went over. And another one, he didn't get back to the wall quick enough, so he kind of went back up into the wall, which stopped him, and it just went over his glove. If he had gotten to the wall and went up, he might have had a chance for it. But that's 3 home runs. They said, other than Yankee Stadium, that's not a home run in all the rest of the ballparks. So Houston, so that's why you saw Garcia. Like he might have looked like he was late. They know that's short there, and he's a right-handed hitter. And you know, the parks kind of are going to dictate the players on that team. Philly, you know, again, Houston got Alvarez. They got guys that can hit. They got him for that park because half their games that season are at that park. Now you're talking Arizona and Texas. Those stadiums, I think, are a little more pitcher friendly.
Definitely.
So I think that's where you're going to see. And again, Arizona being kind of I don't want to say small ball, but they steal. They stole on Real Muto, which again,
how many stolen bases were off JT in the entirety of the season? There was more stolen bases in the postseason than there was the entirety of the season against JT.
Yeah.
Which again, he was I think the best catcher probably in the league right now.
Yep.
Arm wise, probably the strongest arm in the league right now.
Yep.
So again, I mean, to have 4 stolen bases in one game off of him, and to have as many stolen bases as they had throughout the entire division series, correlate that to how many total stolen bases there were in the entire year. That's pretty cool in itself, because again, that's not somebody like JT. The average team is not stealing on, let alone 4 times in one game.
And you could say steal on him. Probably stole. I mean, I didn't really pay close attention. They probably stole off the pitcher, but again.
Well, the last stolen base, Realmuto didn't even throw down the second.
He didn't throw.
He timed it perfectly. It was an off-speed pitch. Realmuto didn't even throw it out.
Yeah. So and that's what you're doing as a coach. I mean, you're trying to get a grip on the game and how the pitchers are pitching. We do with our Blue Sox team. We try to keep track of when we have runners, get a runner on base. We're trying to get an idea throughout the game what the other team's pitchers are throwing, first pitch, second pitch, with a runner on first, and that gives us a better idea of reading the other teams, the way they pitch, the pitcher and the catcher, so we can steal. You know what I mean? So there was a few years ago, my third base coach, he was really paying strict attention to it, and he noticed that particular year that every time we got a runner on first pitch out of that pitcher's hand was spin. So he started stealing first pitch, and he was right most of the time. You know what I mean? So obviously it's a lot easier to steal a base on spin than it is a fastball. And so, but again, the game changes, and so we keep track of that on the Blue Sox. So to help my third base coach get a read on things a little bit better, you know what I mean, on when we want to steal. We had a lot of speed this year, so we could run, so it almost didn't matter if we ran on a fastball or curveball because we had speed. But speed kills. I mean, you're put. That's one way you put pressure on defense. That's why we were talking. I was talking to some of my lessons the other night, and they're Philadelphia fans, and you can see it in the playoffs where you don't really take notice of it in the regular season, but in the playoffs, get that first guy out is crucial. And so almost, what do they say? 70%, you walk the first guy of the inning, 70% chance that guy's coming around to score. Okay, so analytics. So you want to keep it off. I'm big with our Blue Sox team. I get yelling every year, but when we score a run or 2 runs or 3 runs, we're going back out in the field. Shut down inning. How do you shut the inning down? Get that first guy out. All right.
It's a whole momentum shift.
Yeah.
Just by incorporating that first out.
Yeah.
It really is. It changes the complexity of the inning, ultimately changing the complexity of the game. It's very crucial. It's very important. Again, you get that first out. It's a completely different shift in mind of what the offense is now going to be expecting, or trying to restart that rally back up.
Because if they're going to score a run, they got to do it with 2 outs. You know what I mean? If you get that first guy out, and so but you could see it in the playoffs. Every time the leadoff hitter of that whatever inning either got a hit or walked, you were like, oh boy,
right? Because
it's putting pressure on the defense. You're putting pressure on now the pitcher's got to pay attention to. You got to multitask. You don't want to let that guy over at first. Of course, the rules are different, and that's something else we could talk about. The rules that you only throw over twice. Okay, so that changes things a little bit. Where guys in the past could throw over as many times as you want. So now, but you have to pay attention to that runner. At the same time, you can't lose the hitter, because that could be, you pay a little bit too much attention to that runner at first. Now, that 4-seam, or that cutter, or that 4-seam on the outside corner could turn middle, and that guy's smashing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it's, you always put pressure on defense. That's why pitchers, they're going to walk guys, especially young kids that we deal with. They're going to walk guys, but you're better off not worrying about throwing 95 miles an hour. Location and movement, because we say all the time here is I don't care how fast you throw a ball for, so we want to be on that glove, because the last thing I want to do is give out a free 90, because now and again, from the stretch, pitchers basically don't throw as hard. Mm-hmm. It's a mile or 2 slower than from the full. So I mean, and you got to pay attention to a runner and a hitter, and things can go wrong. And then again, balls hit. Pressure's on the defense now, depending on where the ball's hit and how hard it's hit. It just changes. And you can see it more in the playoffs, when the first batter got on, no matter what way he got on, it was in a lot of cases that runner came around and scored. Yeah. So I mean,
which again, it's to that mindset alone, it's going to be a very exciting World Series, and it's going to be fun to see what these teams do now. Again, playing both in stadiums that are more pitcher friendly, it's going to be more exciting, I think, to see what strategic play is going to be implemented versus the let's rely on the home run.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you got what's his name, Garcia. Man, he's
kid's been playing.
Yeah,
what is he, 16 for 6? Yeah, I think 16 game hitting streak in postseason, or 15 game hitting streak.
He's got pop.
It's
insane.
Nuts. It's insane.
So they got a little bit of power, but I don't know how those players. What do you think about the new rules for pitchers, time clock, and all that stuff?
So is that being implemented in? I think it is implemented in postseason.
Oh yeah.
Well, so I mean, my take on it completely is, I mean, you're no longer playing chess; you're playing checkers now. In the sense of, a great example. Not only the rule of the pitch clock, but the rule of pitcher throws over twice. I remember when I was playing JUCO ball, we had a rule: whenever a guy gets on, automatic, you're picking off. Not a pickoff where you're going to try and pick off. You're going to step off. You're going to throw over. You're going to show interest that, hey, I know you're on base now. I know you're there. And that was just a mindset that was built into all of our pitchers on our pitching staff. It was second a guy gets on, you're throwing over. Right. Now it's you got to be very strategic when you throw over, and it allows, as long as there's not a lefty on the mound, depending on who the runner is on first, it allows that extra step and a half of a lead, because we know if you pick off once, as long as we're in that same sequence with that batter and I'm on base, all I need you to do is throw over again, because the second you throw over again, I can walk to second base, because the second you step off, it's a balk.
Right.
Assuming you're not stepping off to redo the side or something. The second you step off, you're implying you're going to turn and pick off. I'm walking. I'm not stealing the base. I'm walking to second base.
And again, it's to speed up the game.
But
I don't know if I agree. I'm not a former pitcher. I don't know if I agree with that. I get where they're going with it, but there becomes a strategy involved with it. I only can throw over twice.
Well, it's not even the pickoff. It's also the pitch clock, because again, the game of baseball doesn't start. The batter can stand in the batter's box all day long. Until that pitcher throws the ball, the game doesn't start. So you're taking the chess mindset out of the pitcher, who again, you'll see some pitchers prior to this rule, some pitchers will purposely come set and they'll wait. They'll purposely wait for the batter to call timeout when you got a runner on base. They'll purposely stall, for their own sake. Next delivery, they come set. Cortez does it sometimes. They'll come set right away. They'll deliver. You're taking that strategic, because again, until that pitcher throws the ball, the game is not in play. The ball's live, but the ball's not really live because I haven't thrown the ball yet. You know what I mean? So it's you're taking the strategy out of the pitcher. You're speeding the game up, so the pitcher needs to be quicker now. There's in a way, the batter has to be in the box at a certain time.
It goes both ways.
Nomar was notorious for taking a minute every single pitch. And Nomar was phenomenal at breaking up the rhythm of a pitcher. You hear tempo with pitchers. Have tempo. Have rhythm. You want to be in sync. And when you got a guy like Nomar, every single pitch ruining that tempo, it's the advantage is now in the batter's hands. It's not in the pitcher's hands. So
it changed. It's made a big difference. I like it. I like the clock in the sense that it keeps the game rhythm. Yes, it speeds up the game. Games are no more 4 hours long. And again, we're playing to the fans. Fans don't want to go there and watch paint dry, 4 hour, 4.5 hour game, whatever it might be, 3 hours and 50 minutes. So it speeds the game up. But you can use that clock to your strategy. Now, like a guy like. I think it was Scherzer.
Scherzer was very good at doing that in the beginning of the year.
Yes, like what he would do is he'd go, like say from the stretch or even from the full, he'd be ready to go and he still had 10 seconds left, and he'd wait till it got down to 1 second to go. So he's like freezing that hitter. Again, the hitters get to step out once, but the hitter's also within 8 seconds of that clock, that hitter has to have his eyes on the pitcher.
I think the hitters also get a timeout now too.
They get one. They get to step out of the box once. And so, I kind of like it. It gives the game more rhythm. Listen, these guys are major league athletes. They can make that adjustment. Okay, they can make that adjustment. Pitchers, I haven't seen You can see. Remember at the beginning, especially in spring training,
you had a couple pitchers.
Guys, time clock and ball, so it's a ball. But then, as you see,
you saw how quick it changed, though.
Yeah,
you're no longer having that issue.
You're no longer having that issue now.
I'd give it probably maybe a month, probably less, but maybe a month into the season was when you heard the last pitch clock violation.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened pitch clock violation in playoffs, which again, that could really be a change of pace for any team. That could be a momentum shifter for any team. But the fact that you haven't seen anything in the playoffs pitch clock wise or that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But again, it's a different mindset now strategically.
Yeah, you're looking at it in a strategic sense, and I get it. You know, you got your. I see where you're going. You know, you're old school almost in a sense. You know, there was a strategy of stepping out of the box and freezing the pitcher and getting the pitcher out of rhythm, and I agree with that. You can still do it, but within a time frame. So hitters can still step out, right?
It's just not as common as much. And again, the rhythm is more in the rhythm. There's more rhythm with the pitch clock because you're seeing pitchers typically within a second, you know, plus or minus a second or two in that window of when they're delivering.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, excluding Scherzer in the beginning of the season with that 10, 11 second freeze, okay, now go. And then there were some times where Scherzer would come set at that 10-second mark, boom, I'm pitching.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool to see because that was throwing off the you know, and there was even a couple times the second the batter got into the box, Scherzer was ready to go.
Yeah.
Umpires, what are you doing? He's in the batter's box. I absolutely agree with that. The second you're in the batter's box, whether you're ready or not, I'm sorry. I'm on the mound, you're in the batter's box.
Yeah.
You should be set.
Yeah.
It's not my job to make sure you're set before I deliver the ball.
So, I think it's I like it. You know, I didn't think I'd like it, but I like it now because the game has more of a rhythm to it now. The whole game has more of a rhythm. Yes, it's a shorter game. You know, the biggest complaint that the fans had was, you know, baseball. You know, 10 minutes and then somebody hits the ball on the ground, and then it's another 10 minutes before somebody else gets a hit or hits a line drive or whatever, and it's too slow. And I get it because it really wasn't like that a long time ago. It developed into that because, you know, the umpires in Major League Baseball allowed the hitter to step out of the box. If you look back, I mean, hitters stepped out of the box almost after every pitch. And then you got Garcia Power, it takes 15 minutes to, you know, you got some guys that still do that kind of stuff, you know.
But it's a routine. It's done subconsciously. Like Nomar would naturally step out. I'll bet you half the time he didn't even realize he was doing it. But it was the same routine. It was the same switch. It was the same, you know, toe tap. It was even Harper kind of does it. He has that same approach coming into the box. It's just nowhere near as long.
What they're using that for is here. They're focusing on the next pitch and what, you know, depending, especially on the situation. What do I got to do here, and what I'm going to look for, and that kind of a thing. So they're thinking the game out, pitch to pitch. Well, now you got to think the game out a little bit quicker as a hitter. So I don't think it's a disadvantage for either pitcher or batter. I think it keeps everything in a rhythm. They're elite athletes. They've been doing this a long time. If you know, like we talked about, you see it now. There's no clock violations anymore. It's because they've made the adjustment. They're elite players. So, and I don't even hear too much complaining about it from the pitchers or the hitters. You know, at first it was looked at as it was a disadvantage for the pitcher and it was a disadvantage for the hitter, because hitters were used to stepping out all the time. Now they got to get in there. And so now, you know, your major league hitter hit the ball. You can't step out and think about what what pitch might be coming next, or, you know, the situation at hand, because the count's now 1-2. What do I do? No, you got to know. Yeah. And their elite athletes, they know. You know, it was a game inside the game. Like Garcia Power stepping out every time, blah blah blah, freezing him, getting the pitcher out of rhythm. Well, now the hitter's got to be in rhythm, and the pitcher's got to be in a faster rhythm. So, you know, it evens out. I like it. I think it gives flow to the game. I don't like throwing over only twice to first, but it is what it is. But I like the rhythm of the game now. There's always action now, where the big complaint, and I saw it too, I love this game. It's the best game in the world. Best game on earth. But, you know, Major League Baseball got to a point where, oh my goodness, you're sitting there for, you know, an at-bat was like 10 minutes. Because these guys are stepping out, or the pitcher would walk off.
But how exciting are those 18, 19, 16 pitch at-bats? Sure, there might be a little bit longer, but When you got a guy that works a 3-2 count after 13 pitches and he's able to foul off the next 4, ultimately leading a walk, even if he gets a strikeout. I mean, what as a fan, we love to see those at bats because again, you want to talk about competing and battling and having an approach. I mean, it's just those are at bats that are fun to watch, regardless of the outcome. You got a 16, 17, 18 pitch at bat. I can promise you that's something that will be highlighted the very next day all over SportsCenter. Regardless if you struck out, regardless if you hit a home run, regardless if you flied out.
Absolutely.
Just the battle alone.
But I just didn't like it before when the guys were stepping out every they foul off 11 pitches,
right,
and he's stepping out every time. The at bat becomes 10 minutes long. People don't want to see that, so I understand that. I like the rules with the clock. Major League Baseball players have adjusted to it. They're elite athletes, so they're going to adjust to it. They didn't like it at first. You heard a lot of complaints from both sides, but now you don't hear any complaints. And I think there's so much more of a flow to the game that it's going to draw more people into baseball. Guys stepping out of the box every time, or the pitcher walking off and hitting the rosin bag, and just a 10-minute at bat, every at bat. The game, it pushed people away from the game. We're baseball guys. We want people to come, right? Our Blue Sox team. The owner of this organization and myself and all the people involved. I want my players to play in front of people, fans. You know what I mean? Because they want to. And so, how do you draw people to it? You put a great product on the field that's exciting to watch, kind of thing. So, as far as Major League Baseball is concerned, the product they had was like watching paint dry. It was drawn out way too much, and people started walking away from the game. People want to see action, like football. Hockey's constant, basketball's constant. People want to see action. That's what they come there for. And when nothing happens for 10 minutes, and then something happens, and then nothing happens for another 10 minutes, the average fan, you and me, no. You know what I mean? Baseball people, no. They'll sit there and watch a 2-1 game and say that was a great game. But the average fan who's paying the money to come watch these games, they want to see action all the time. And so with that new rule, I think that's going to bring a lot more people back into this game. There's always action all the time.
No, I definitely agree.